Citizens of Tulsa and New York, welcome to Too Many Shows, a TV podcast. I am your host, Benjamin David. We are both live on our YouTube channel, B David Studios, and then you can also find the pod wherever you listen to podcasts. So subscribe, follow there if you haven't. On that note, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of Too Many Shows. Also, any kind of super donations here on the stream or on any of our videos is much appreciated. And we're continuing the pods and the streams with a new show, and that is Tulsa King. So happy to be on this show, because if you've watched our Alien Earth streams, holy, not my fault, I didn't write the show. So today, we're going to be reviewing the season 3 premiere titled Blood and Bourbon. We've been going live on YouTube, like I said, for season 1 of Alien Earth, and then there's just one more to go, thank God. For the finale, just like last week, we're going to do Wednesday, 3 p.m. EST. And then for Tulsa King Season 3, real quick, and then we'll get back to the pod, we are going to be going live every Monday, since the episodes drop Sundays. And then we're going to do 2 p.m. EST every Monday. I know this week it was 3 and a little over, so thank you for your patience. But we were just getting, the new format set up for Tulsa King. Transitioning, thank God, again, away from Alien Earth. So, again, 2 p.m. EST every Monday. And finally, if you like the show and you want to support us and all the other shows on our network, then head on over to Patreon. That's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. Join the community here in Tulsa. You guys get early access to podcasts, detailed episode notes for each pod, and a ton of exclusive vids and pods you can only find there. That's once again just at the, that's just at the $1 level. And again, that's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. All right, so let's do it. My review of Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 1. Blood and Bourbon, baby. So some IMDb credits, and then we have our non-spoiler initial thoughts, and then our spoiler walkthrough. So Episode 1 is once again titled Blood and Bourbon. Script is by Dave Erickson and Sylvester Stallone. So this is exciting because Taylor Sheridan, as you might know, is the creator, of course, from Yellowstone, Landman, all the great stuff that Taylor Sheridan's known for. And also writer, I should also say, writer, executive producer Terry Winter. So the show, which was a great start, and I was intrigued from day one, is that you have Sopranos meets Yellowstone. And a lot of people, including myself, Yellowstone is kind of Sopranos on a ranch. A little more Godfather on a ranch, but I made a whole video about that. You can check that out. But anyway, again, you had Sopranos meets Yellowstone, and now they've kind of handed over the reins to Stallone, but I'm also glad Stallone has a co-writer, because I think he's a great storyteller, but maybe he just needs some help with, he's an older guy, maybe he just needs some help with dialogue, stuff like that. Anyway, directed by Jim McKay. Cast, again, Sly Stallone as Dwight Manfredi. Frank Grillo is Bill Bevilacqua. Grillo crushes this role. I love seeing him as this cowboy gangster out in KC. Dana Delaney is Margaret Devereaux, which I felt dumb. I didn't know Dana Delaney is Lois Lane in the Superman the Animated Series, as well as the great Batman Mask of the Phantasm for the animated Bat/Superman nerds. She was Andrea Beaumont in, Mask of the Phantasm. So Annabella Sciorra is Joanne Manfredi. Annabella Sciorra was Gloria Trillo, the amour fou, crazy love, the psycho ex, but still one of my favorites, girlfriends of Tony's, what do they call it? The Guma. Chris Caldovino is Dennis Goody. Speaking of Sopranos, he was Billy Bats. Yeah, not Billy Bats. Sorry, his name was Billy. He was Philly Leotardo's little brother, Billy. Italians in those areas have funny names. So Philly Leotardo's little brother, Billy, he was on that show. And then, of course, we have Neil McDonough is also back for this season as Cal Thresher, but not in this episode. So I was happy to see him on the cast list, but not in this episode. And then, of course, Martin Starr is Bodhi. So some new characters for this season, and then we'll get to the episode here. We got Kevin Pollak as Agent Musso, and it's interesting to see Kevin Pollak as an Italian guy. Normally we see him as, I don't know what he is in real life IRL, but I actually recently saw him on that show, Nice Things, I think it is. Anyway, it's with Pamela Adlon, who was on the Louis show, and she's a great comic writer and stuff like that, and she does a lot of voice work, in fact. But anyway, I saw her, he was the brother on that show, and then he was also in, it's Kevin Pollak, let's not even bother. And then Robert Patrick, baby, is Jeremiah Dunmire. Oh man, Robert Patrick as the heavy, as the bad guy. I love seeing him. I mean, he was in Yellowstone, the casting and all this stuff. It's such a Taylor Sheridan jam, even though Sheridan isn't directly involved anymore. And then finally, Sam Jackson at some point is coming in this season, not in this episode, but I kind of wish we didn't get that reveal. Like, why did they have to give that away in the trailers? And I guess this is one of the reasons I didn't used to watch trailers for shows, because specifically for series, like obviously I'd watch them for movies, but anyway. And apparently that's supposed to be a spin-off. So maybe we should do a Patreon episode or something about the Sam Jackson spin-off of Tulsa King. So a brief synopsis from IMDb. Dwight deals with threats from law enforcement and rival gangs while trying to secure a distillery deal. So some non-spoiler initial thoughts, and then we'll get to our spoiler walkthrough where we go beat by beat, just like we did with Alien Earth. So not a lot of action, but great setup and drama. Like, even humor, plus the plot moves. So even though you don't get a lot of action, I just like what we get for a season premiere. I am normally not someone who would, especially in a show like this, you know, it's not meant to be high art. It's supposed to be a lighter gangster show. And in fact, I even saw an interview with Stallone promoting this season, and he was saying that. He's like, he likes the tone of this show because it's a lighter, he gets to play kind of a smart-ass gangster is the point. And he feels like that's very natural for him, which, real quick, since we never talked about the show on here, holy shit, just Stallone as gangster, it's perfect. It's like, it almost feels like, why haven't we gotten this for just years on end? And for a guy who admits he's not, doesn't have the biggest acting range, there's no square peg in a round hole here. It's East Coast gangster, Italian guy. He's older, so he's at the boss level. Just did a shitload of time, and he's this older badass guy. Like in real life, Stallone is like that too. He lifts a ton of weights, stays healthy, stays, you know, well informed and all that shit. So it's like, it's interesting to see him as a, what's it called, as an old gangster. So, but yeah, again, the tone of this show, I also, on the tonal thing that I was saying before, that you got like Gomorrah, which is super serious. That's the show out in Naples. Then you got Sopranos, which is humor meets a very heavy, dark, very dark, especially once you get to season 4. I mean, that show is like, it's very dark. And what's it called? So, but, and then this is of course way lighter than even both of those, but it also has some balls. Like, it's not a comedy. So it has humor, it's lighter. They allow people to be just kind of corny, naturally corny, whereas in Sopranos, they'd be like, we don't need to see all that. Like, let's keep it as serious as possible, even though there's a ton. I mean, that show is hilarious, Sopranos, but it's funny for its seriousness and truth toward. Whereas I think this just, they want to capture lighter moments is my point in this show. And yeah, but, oh, sorry. So back to this season, I think the tone is gelling even better this season. So all the things that I just talked about, my point is that I think it's gelling better this season than ever. I think especially last season, we started to get season 2. It, like, especially in the scenes with Annabella Sciorra, with, I forget her name, we're going to get to credits in a second, but, or no, we already did Joanne Manfredi. Anyway, whatever her name is, Gloria Trillo. When Gloria Trillo is at the dispensary, I just thought that stuff was a little too, it didn't work as well as the rest of the show is my point. It was like kind of two different shows when it would be her at the dispensary coming up with her stuff. She's obviously a great actress. I just think what they were giving her was not nearly what they were giving her this season, this episode that we're going to talk about in just a sec. I think they give her pretty good stuff here. All right, so let's do it. Our spoiler walkthrough. And so begins our beat-by-beat spoiler walkthrough for Blood and Bourbon. So we open in the secret organization place from the season 2 finale cliffhanger. So, and Stallone, pun intended, cliffhanger. Again, square peg in a round hole. Who ever believed him as a rock climber in this? A lot more fucking natural. Anyway, so we open in the secret organization place, and Kevin Pollak is this Agent Musso guy. And we didn't see who, I'm pretty sure we didn't see who it was until this season, that it is Kevin Pollak. If you remember from, the season 2 cliffhanger, he was dragged out of his house. He had guns pointed in his face with Lois Lane. She's like, what the fuck is going on? And we didn't know what was going on either. Now we kind of know what's going on. I like seeing him, like I said, as Italian. He's normally this. Oh, and Mrs. Maisel, that was the other role I couldn't think of that was big, that Kevin Pollak, kind of a neurotic, more like a neurotic Jewish type character. He's just Musso, Agent Musso. And he doesn't, I shouldn't say Musso, but you can tell he's like an Italian guy. His name's obviously Musso. So Musso says the guy Dwight shot 25 years ago, which we got that flashback last season, and then they gave it to us here too. I believe it, yeah, in the previously on. So that guy that was chained to the radiator, really intense scene. You had young Chicky, I believe his name was, and young, what was the other guy out in New York? Anyway, it was young versions of them, and they were, remember they, oh man, they put the iron on his face. That was fucked up. I forgot about the iron until just now doing this recap here, but man. So again, as Stallone says, he's like, it was a mercy killing, and he wasn't even lying. But Musso's got this interesting thing. Anyway, so that guy tied to the radiator was apparently an informant. And he's like 2 years of work and down the fucking drain because you shot this guy next to a radiator. And he also says he knows everything Dwight's been doing in Tulsa, threatens to take down his whole crew if he doesn't cooperate. And also says, he's like, as law enforcement, there are things we can't do, but you can. So, all right, we're gonna see some shit, man. We're gonna see some Dwight Manfredi kind of working with the government, doing shady shit. But all right, here we go. So Dwight's house. Dwight gets dropped off in his pajamas. Bigfoot welcomes him. Coffee's on. And felt very Sopranos, you know, driveway, pajamas. Back on the ranch. So this is Margaret Devereaux's ranch, who I can't believe I didn't know. Lois Lane. So Margaret's like, answer his motherfucker. Like, I have been in my house. I had men in my house with guns in our face. Like, I need some answers. And he tells her they know everything. He's like, look, these government guys, it literally recaps. He doesn't hold anything back is my point. Tell her they know everything. And Dwight's like, you're too good of a person. I don't want to bring this into your life. So, and then he kind of repeats that on his way out. You're too good of a person. So, you know, he doesn't want to bring her down. That's honorable, I guess. Dwight and Bigfoot are in the Escalade. If you also recall the end of season 2, and they say it in the conversation with Musso, that whole, the big final showdown, and they literally bury a guy under that same stable that they're in. So, yeah, some shit went down at her ranch, and she's basically gangster cowgirl now. So, gangster cowgirl queen of the ranch. So Dwight and Bigfoot are in the Escalade, and Ray calls saying he basically needs to come to New York and check in, that Dwight has to come to New York, and this is Quiet Ray, which is a really interesting character. We've never met this character, but he's obviously a heavy hitter out in New York and is able to call Dwight, and Dwight will answer. And he's like, it's overdue. He's like, you haven't checked in, so get your ass out in New York. Then we get our opening credits. I didn't notice that Sheila Jaffe does casting, and I believe Eileen Walken, Christopher Walken's IRL wife, along with Sheila Jaffe, cast Sopranos and a ton of other stuff. So makes sense that, all the great casting in this show, along with Sheridan, because now we're at this point, again, ultimate East meets West. You have Sopranos meets ultimate Western show, ultimate gangster show. So now we're at the famous San Gennaro Festival. San Gennaro in Little Italy. And this is a famous festival. It's like the most famous of these Italian festivals where they have a saint, San Gennaro in this case, and they do a bunch of stuff with the Catholic Church who arranges it, and it's just food. Sausage and peppers. You got your zeppole, which is like the fried dough and the sugar. So for the non-Italians, for those outside of Little Italy area, I had the privilege to go to San Gennaro one year with my, at the time, Italian dad's second wife. And anyway, so I'm a little Italian by marriage, and I'm obsessed with Italian shit. So I like seeing San Gennaro. And just, again, Stallone sitting on Mulberry Street. That's probably Mulberry Street, the main drag of Little Italy in Manhattan. And Stallone explaining the legend of San Gennaro. I was like, this just works so well. And so anyway, he tells how Mount Vesuvio, which is the Vesuvius, and again in Sopranos, speaking of Sopranos, that's the name of the restaurant, Vesuvio, but how Mount Vesuvius or Vesuvio is about to erupt, and then San Gennaro puts up his hand to calm down the volcano. And this is again the saint of this particular festival. Then the story is that the Roman emperor gets jealous of Donato's fame and has him decapitated. So, and then I love how he's like, the point of this whole dissertation, never volunteer for nothing. No good deed goes undone. That's so old school Italian. Like, this is what you get for doing favors for people. Like, you do 25 fucking years for what? And the fact that he says dissertation, because he's this educated gangster now, because he did a lot of reading in the joint, and in previous seasons we got him being kind of like this literary, what do I want to say, literate gangster. So enter Goody, who says Quiet Ray is ready to meet, and again Goody is Billy Leotardo, who gets shot in season 5 by Steve Buscemi, if I didn't say that. Great shot of Stallone where he's like, here we go. It was kind of this Dutch tilt type, angled shot, almost like the old Batman show, but clearly not corny like that. I just thought it was a nice little detail of him still sitting at that table on Mulberry Street, Little Italy, and then it's like a quick little flavor that you throw in there with the Dutch tilt. And then another great shot / transition, it's blurred out, and then another character, it's out of focus, and another character comes into focus. Or sorry, when the characters come into the shot, it goes into focus right outside Quiet Ray's apartment, which I love how old school this apartment is. Like, and Capone was famous for this, of having this shitty little house in Chicago, and that's where this house he kept, that's where he did all his business to not draw attention. And also just people, these guys, a lot of them tend to be very routine oriented and old school. They want to hold on to. So just the fact that this place has not been renovated in like 60 years. The guy's a boss, and he kind of lives in this shitty little dark apartment over a Chinese joint in a Little Italy. And also what's cool about this as well is that a lot of the Italian, especially the gangster guys, they live out in like Staten Island, and Brooklyn is a big place for these guys. So to have this still in Little Italy has been diminished in terms of the amount of Italian population that they have there. A quick lesson there. And then we'll get back to the episode, but it's just like, it's cool to see that's how old school as this guy is my point, is that you still have this Manhattan Italian gangster, which I like to see. So Ray wants Dwight to be one of the bosses and to run a New York family. And he's like, you're not a faccia culo cowboy. So I never thought I'd hear that written. A faccia de culo cowboy, which literally translates to like face of ass, but it's a term that they use like, you're an asshole, a faccia de culo. Cowboy, so funny. He's like, you're not a faccia de culo cowboy, you're a boss. He's like, I built something, Ray. Strong. I'm proud of it. It grew on me, Tulsa. And he's basically just like, look, I'm not working for corporate. He wants him to work for, Italian mob corporate. And he's like, I'm not doing it. So Ray tells Dwight, say that 10 times fast, he's like, it's time to share. And at first they're being, friendly. He's like, oh, I need your finger to put, on this gift that I'm wrapping for my fucking grandson's christening or whatever shit. And so they're like BSing at first, and this is how they do. They're charming, and they're like, oh, family, and I'm like, all right, give me the fucking money. Because that's really what it's all about. The rest of this stuff, unfortunately. He's like, oh, I feel you got fucked over by the Invernizzi family, who was Chicky from last season, played by the great Dominic Lombardozzi from The Wire. What was his name on The Wire? Herc from The Wire. So anyway, he's like, yeah, Chicky and them fucked you over, and I love seeing, by the way, I completely forgot in that season finale that Chicky gets shot in the head by Grillo. That was so great. I literally out loud by myself was like, oh! I felt very Italian gangster. Oh! A total surprise when a guy gets fucking whacked and you don't expect it. So he's like, look, sharing's good as long as you're sharing with someone you want to share with. Good seeing you. Basically, go fuck yourself. I got my own thing going. Not only did I do 25 years for the family, then I got fucked over by the family. And so, like, I'm good on corporate. I built my own thing. Like, I'm not beefing, but stay the fuck out of Tulsa. Love it. Very Western, very gangster. And then outside, sorry, cool handheld shot, by the way, as Stallone walks out of the apartment. Like, they do this handheld and he's got a cool walk in this. He's just this older, grizzled, still jacked as shit at like 76 or whatever he is. And outside, and I love, this is a great idea to have the character of Goody, I thought, out west. So Goody almost, not immediately, but eventually moves out west. And he's out there for a good amount, I think, if not all of season 2. And so anyway, having Goody out west, having a guy who knows all the New York information, he's like, you know he don't fuck around. Maybe retirement's worth consideration. Like, maybe you shouldn't stir a bee's nest. And so we get the reputation of this quiet Ray guy because of the character of Goody. And I like that Stallone always has him at his side to have this, again, connection to New York, even though we're out west. Great setup for also, like I said, the reputation / kind of power levels of our bad guys for the season. So now Dwight's getting it from corporate New York. He's getting it from these law guys. And then, out in Tulsa, he's going to have some bad guys as well. So I love this setup of Dwight essentially being sandwiched and telling everybody along the way to what. Back in Tulsa, Cleo visits Mitch at the dealership. So I forgot though, is it Cleo or is it cleavage? Because wow. Papa Montague is selling the distillery. So this is Cleo Montague and Papa Montague. I don't know if this is her granddaddy or her daddy. I think it's her daddy. But anyway, so now we learn of Jeremiah Dunmire. He's like, Jeremiah Dunmire, the tyrant of Tulsa. This Southern Shakespeare they speak is amazing. Jeremiah Dunmire, the tyrant of Tulsa. Giddy the fuck up. And then she's like, bad people getting away with bad things. And essentially Jeremiah Dunmire, they made this handshake of a terrible deal because he's this Southern gangster guy who is a distiller himself, but it doesn't seem to be the master distiller and have the amount, the level of success that Montague has gotten, and probably maybe isn't as good as Montague. But he's taken over now that, anyway. He's like, hey, Cleo, I always think of you fondly. And they have their little Southern moment. I just love these little, what would normally be in the Sopranos, Italians getting connected and their little love stories there. Now we see these Southern belles and really good-looking people from fucking Oklahoma. Man, these two are easy on the eyes, and especially Cleo's Cleo. Anyway, so at the Bread to Book Saloon, Bread number 2 Buck Saloon, we see this place is popping. And again, this is the place that Stallone over time took over. Dwight Manfredi took over along with the help of Mitch, who we just saw in the scene. And yeah, man, this place is popping. We got the casino, everything else. And then Spencer, the girl who trained the old horse, I love that storyline too. That felt like a very Taylor Sheridan thing. He's always got animals, right? So you have clearly a ton of horses in Yellowstone, but even, it'll be like a little story of the bear, and there's like a bear storyline in Yellowstone. And you have like one horse that Casey is training at one point. And the point is you'll follow kind of one animal. Merritt Kingstown's got the bear. Right, so, and then in this case, there was the old horse that Stallone was like, all right, I want to give this thing a chance. So I love that about Stallone. Anyway, about Dwight Manfredi in this show. And so anyway, the girl who trained that old horse is Spencer, and now she's working at the Bread to Buck. Lois Lane arrives, Margaret Devereaux, who is apparently a good tipper, because she's like, thank you. She's like, thank you. So Margaret now sits down with Dwight and is like, what the fuck, Dwight? Like, why'd you leave me? So I know they're going to ask me, he's like, I know they're going to ask me to do some dark shit, talking about the government guys. And knowing that, I don't want you around. So he's like, and that's a good line. Good writing in this. Again, I want to guess Stallone is doing the story, but this is dialogue that you could write. This is intergenerational dialogue is the point. So I like that he has this co-writer, and this is good. I know they're going to ask me to do some dark shit. Because again, now they're like, you're our bad guy muscle of the government. Oof. And this seems very Taylor Sheridan too, right? You have these secret secret government shit, corrupt government stuff like we get in Lioness, and just seeing these organizations that you're like, oh my god, the shit that the CIA and the government does to keep us safe and or whatever for their own interests, whatever they're doing. I like how we get this realer, more realistic side. Seemingly more realistic. I'm guessing it is. And he's like, I'm an over-the-hill Goomba. I mean, what's the attraction? Another great line. I'm an over-the-hill Goomba. What's the attraction? That's writing right there. She gives him this custom-made, and she's like, yeah, but one who dresses really well. Great response. So she gives him this custom-made... Oh, and by the way, if I didn't say before, obviously Dana Delaney was in Tombstone. It's probably a much more important reference since I'm such a Batman nerd. I do the Yellowstone thing now, okay? So it's not just Batman and Batman and Batman and Batman. But, you know, I got Dolly going, I got Yellowstone going. Anyway, America. So she was also in in Tombstone. And she's like, you're very well dressed. And then she's like, oh, sorry. And then she gives him a custom-made General Star lapel looking thing. And she's like, you are the general, aren't you? So that was cute. Mitch arrives to the B2B, we'll call it. Mitch then expresses his hate for selling cars. He's like, I'm not a fucking clown. Because we saw he's not very good at selling cars. Presents to Dwight then the opportunity of selling the business, the Montague Distillery, the liquor license along with it. And he's like, he's a master distiller. So serious product, serious brand name. This is a multi-generational master distiller family. And he's like, but he's being strong-armed by a guy named Dunmire. He's been out here a long time, or he's been around a long time, carries a lot of weight. And that's our boy, Robert Patrick, who we haven't met yet, but holy shit. I love me some T-1000, who was also in Yellowstone. He plays, I believe, the sheriff in Yellowstone. Not that he has nearly as much power as he should. That's the 1923 Yellowstone. So back at the dispensary, I love the establishing shots and transitions of the city, just like capturing Tulsa as... They do Tulsa as a character like they do with Jersey and Sopranos, Gotham City and Batman. Anyway, Gloria Trillo, who is Stallone's sister, Joanne Manfredi, needs Bodhi to drop off cash to the KC guys. So Bodhi's being insubordinate. You could tell he's like really not content about his new gangster duties, as it were. And he's like, oh, fuck, just dropping off cash to the guy who killed Jimmy. Why wouldn't I be okay? Grace, because Grace is like, what's your fucking problem? And, or she was nicer about it than that, but she was just like, what's going on? As he's loading cash from the safe into a duffel bag. And he's just like, these are the guys who killed my best friend. Like, why the fuck would I be okay with this? So you see his nerd personality not clashing with his new gangster duties. But at the same time, it's like, you know, okay, but you also were doing illegal shit before Dwight came here. So the high horse that he's on, I don't know if I have as much sympathy for it, but that's okay. And we see later, it's not like he is, turns out to be that good of a guy, as we see with the, at the end, or toward the end, at the Montague estate sale. She's like, there's only one person in line, and it's Dunmire, talking to Dwight. Now we have Cleo Montague talking to Dwight, and he's like, so what's up with, you know, I hear you're having problems selling the distillery, and she's like, there's only one person in line, and there's nothing we can do about it, because he's a bad guy. So then at Tyson's crib, excuse me, Tyson's living pretty. We hear some dope-ass music playing. It's kind of like his gangster suit-up sequence. And then Bodhi arrives in a lime green EV, and the music just cuts right out. Just so it might as well have been a music scratch, and that was a fun little scene there. It's also fun to see, you know, back for this season, we're now seeing Tyson has a nice crib and is living on his own, doing well. We see nothing about his parents, which is kind of interesting, but I think that's kind of the point, right? He's out on his own, and then it gets cut off by fucking Bodhi's car. So Dwight meets with Montague, and by the way, they're picking him up because Tyson is supposed to go along with the KC money drop along with Grace. So Dwight meets with Montague. Again, this is the distillery guy, and he's like, I can't sell. Dwight offers to then double whatever Dunmire is, and he's like, but when I shook that hand, I tied my own It's complicated. And he's like, all right, well, think about it, and kind of respects it, but you could tell he's like, I'll be back. I'll be back. Wrong movie star. So outside the estates, though, Mitch and Cleo are approached by Dunmire Jr. Oh, and by the way, if we didn't say this before, it's important to note that like part of their agreement was only a handshake. There's not a legal thing. So this is kind of Dwight's position of like, a guy just shook your hand. That's not really we're going to see how these imitations and Southern, Italian, and Stallone accents come out in the recording here. But anyway, I just thought that was a good line again. But when I shook that hand, I tied my own. That's good writing. It's complicated. Anyway, so he talks a bunch of shit, this Cole Dunmire Jr. He's super jacked, by the way, and this is Robert Patrick's son. And he just talks a bunch of shit to Cleo and Mitch. And then Mitch is like, I didn't forget I didn't forget what a brain dead daddy's boy asshole you are. I wrote that line down. I thought that was good. He's like, oh, maybe you forgot. You went to prison. Maybe you forgot. You ain't shit. And he's like, I didn't forget what a brain dead daddy's boy asshole you are. Good writing. On the road with Bodie, Tyson, and Grace. I like how he's making fun of his music. He's like, man, with your 70s porno elevated music. And he's like this stylish black kid, and he's like, what the fuck? He's listening to like jam band shit or whatever Bodie's listening to. And we even see a bobbing Buddha in the, the car thing. And he's like, what's up with this car, Bodie? He's like, you're trolling, right? You trolling? It's like you're trolling the gangster world with a lime green EV. Oh, that's so funny. And so then they call Bill Bevilacqua Grillo because they have a problem. And that problem is like, right after he's like, what's up with this car? He's like, this car is going to get us there and it's totally fine. And then immediately, like, it runs out of charge is the point. So they have to pull over. He calls Dwight and he's like, look, I'm not going to be able to make it to the meeting point because my car is literally not going to make it there. I have to charge it first. So they call Bill Bevilacqua. And I like that. That feels very Sopranos, too. The name literally means drink water in Italian. But we got, of course, Matt Bevilacqua in... That's the kid that Tony shoots in Season 2. The Bevilacqua kid. That whole Season 2 storyline there. Anyway, he's like, what is this? Some kind of fucking amateur hour? Grillo is so good. And then he's like, is this guy ever fucking calm? Because he's like, all you got to do is just meet these guys 5 miles at a different spot. He's like, it's not a big deal. He's like, how about you have them drive to my house in Kansas City? And he's like, no, we're going with a new plan. Like, Stallone is throughout this. Is constantly being tested, constantly telling people to go fuck themselves. So then at the charging station, the KC guys roll up. And he's like, what's this bullshit ride? Nice detail there of a line. And I like how one of these guys has a broken arm. Like, I don't think we see why. I don't really recall. But it's just... And that feels like a David Chase thing, too. Very Sopranos. Of David Chase, on record, has always liked people kind of looking wearing, like... bandages and shit like that. Like, if people have a broken nose and just seeing people in casts and stuff like that. So I just thought that was a nice Sopranos thing, possibly. Anyway, the money bag is full of magazines. So they take out what's supposed to be the money, they unzip it to check. And they're like, the fuck? And, or actually, these guys are Southern. So, I don't know. The fuck and a Southern KC accent. KC Italian accent. You do it. You do it. And then Martin Starr's like, it's my duffel for Comic-Con. Oh, man, I mixed up the bags. So right here, you're like, damn. All right, so Bodie was insubordinate before, and now you're like, what's he doing now? So Bodie suggests they follow him back to the shop. He's like, honest mistake, I'm sorry. And the other guys are like, what the fuck? So they take out their guns immediately, suspicious. They take the guns from Grace and Tyson and basically hold them hostage. One of the guys goes with Bodie while the other two stay with Grace. And Tyson has collateral. And they're holding the guns, and she's like, your arms are going to get tired. Like, you don't have to keep holding these guns. He's like, what, are you going to hold these guns on us for 3 hours? I just love seeing gangsters from the South. Like, when they're back at the dispensary, and he's like, all right, hurry it the fuck up. Whatever he says to Bodie. like in Justified, we see a lot of these guys, and it's, as an East Coast Jersey guy, I don't, obviously this is not something I'm used to, so I love seeing Southern crime. Bodie unloads the money into a duffel from the same safe that we saw before, and then he pulls a gun on the KC guy, and he's like, so anyway, this is the guy who killed his best friend, and this is why he pulled the gun. Because he's like, oh, sorry. So he's like, oh, I have this photographic memory, and goes through this monologue that I didn't think was that great. He talks about how he memorized this guy's face of like, I know you're the guy who killed my best friend. This is the character Jimmy from last season. I don't know. I just don't know how I felt about Martin Starr in this scene. I feel like he has more skills in this. Like, he was so solid in, I know Silicon Valley is obviously a very leagues different from this show. Unfair comparison, you might say, but also it's like, I don't know. But I think the point, this character is just another out-of-the-box gangster. Like, that's the point of the show, right? An East meets West. Gangster nerd in this case. We got these gangster cowboys, now gangster nerds. But anyway, back at the, I still like the story point of it, and it's good, and it keeps us going, because again, there's not a ton of action in this, but it's good series making as well, because it's callbacks to last season, that there are still beefs with Kansas City, and everybody, again, the theme of Tulsa King is Stallone telling people to go fuck themselves. So back at the Manfredi residence, Dwight is doing a puzzle with his sister and Lois Lane. So he answers the phone. He's like, people calling at 10:30 at night. He answers the phone. Bevelak was like, he's like, hello? Bevelak, fuck you, hello. And it's just so good. Like, Grillo constantly on his ass. And he's like, yo, he pulled a gun in, or he wouldn't say yo, but he's like, he pulled a gun in my guy's face as he was giving him the money. The fuck, Dwight? He's like, your man shot his best friend. I'm back in his play. Did you get what you were owed? He's like, yeah, I got what I was, excuse me. He's like, yeah, I got what I was owed, but that's not the point. He's like, actually it is. Hangs up. Oh, beep, beep, beep. Stallone's so good. And so is Grillo. He's such a good unhinged. By the way, Frank Grillo, the shape that he's in, 60 years old. I just saw a video of them. You know, they're obviously promoting the show, and he was on this literally fitness podcast and talking about 60, or he eats once a day right now. That's his current. I mean, it's crazy what this guy does to maintain. So anyway, back at the Montague estate, Dwight returns with another offer. And now he's with Cleo and Mitch. So before Cleo and Mitch stayed outside, like I said, you knew, I'll be back. You knew, I have the wrong star once again. You knew he'd be coming back with another offer. But now he's with Cleo and Mitch. And so Dwight sells him on the idea of his legacy. He's like, this is about legacy and supporting your daughter and long term. And he makes a good point. And he's like, look, when I partner with someone, their friend is my friend. Their enemy, and this is a good line, their enemy is my enemy. So what do you say? Be my friend. That's good. I felt very Godfather, obviously, the whole, keep your friends close and enemies closer. But it was a fun, the simplicity of the show, the kind of purity of just badass gangster, and it moves. I like it, especially for this episode. Again, they really aren't relying on action, as I keep saying. But it's a good sell point, like I said before, of, not just legacy of taking care of your daughter and your financial legacy, but also this master distillery legacy and your family name, not just brand, but look, these are multi-generational bourbon makers from the South. This is like a serious thing. Anyway, and we saw the estate too. I mean, this house these are some seriously successful, very rich, very wealthy people. Wealthy, not just rich. So Dunmire is distilling at his house, and now we see this kind of intro. This is the intro to Dunmire, and this is again why I feel like I shouldn't watch the trailers, but with doing the podcast, I felt the need to. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this is the first time we even saw this character in the episode. So we see him mixing his stuff and doing all the mash, and just, again, good character setup, because then we have him sitting down at a dinner table. His son walks in, the tough guy, I forget his first name, and he's like, hey, the Lord above all else, I'm praying before I eat, you will not talk, child. And he just makes him shut up. So we not only get this like really good, he's also a distiller, but clearly not as successful. We see all these tattoos on his back. He's washing up, this old Southern badass motherfucker. And then ultra Christian, like, shut up, boy, like, while I'm praying type thing. Makes the kid pray with him. Kid, the adult, his son, pray with him. Then he's like, okay, now you can give me the news. And he's like, we got a problem with Montague. But again, just to end, there's so much that we get. There's so much that we get in like that, what, 2 minutes of who this guy is. And Robert Patrick, holy shit. Like, if you see him even talking about behind the scenes the character work of Terminator and how he did like animal work and all kinds of stuff. I think he used an eagle as his reference. But anyway, back at the Manfredi residence, Agent Musso calls, says to clear his schedule for the next few days, points out that he's been spending time with Montague. By the way, he's like, I know you've been spending time with Montague, so don't think I don't know that. And, you know, I like this government setup. I like that, you know, we're getting a reminder that he's supposed to check in with them. What I don't like is that he's like, you got eyes on me. What kind of fucking question is that? Like, nothing in this episode, I don't know if anything in the show has been that, like, what? Yeah. He said he know, you, need I repeat, need I explain why this is a dumb line? But I don't understand why he said that. Obviously, yes, he's got eyes on you, but I guess I'll let that go. Back at the Montague estate, Jeremiah Dunmire rolls deep into the Montague estate. He's got a bunch of guys with him and Jeeps with big lights on them and all that shit. He's like, it's been a minute since I've been welcomed into this house, Theodore. He's like, well, it's been a minute since there's been a reason to. And this, again, Southern Shakespeare old man, or kind of Southern Shakespeare old man dialogue between these guys. And he talks about, he's like, well, sins of the father ain't necessarily something that, you know, gets passed down. And he's like, well, in your case, he's like, not always, but in your case, they're compounded. Great dialogue. God, I wonder if this guy was from the South. Like, they got a younger guy from the South to do the Southern dialogue, and then you get Sly to do the Italian shit. Because, God, it's so good. He talks about, he's like, look, I got a better offer from someone who respects what we've built here. And Montague shows some balls. Fair enough. I just came by to give you my blessings in your new endeavor. And then Dunmire Jr. walks out with his boys, and he hangs there for a second. He's standing over him in this whole scene. You know, Montague's sitting in his chair in front of the hearth, like in this big old nice chair in front of a fire. And then he just stands over him in the whole scene that we went over. But he also, when he was like, I just came by to give you my blessings, he just stands over him for a minute. You're like, ooh, this ain't gonna go well. I mean, obviously, what we were all thinking, he's just gonna pull out a gun. But creatively, he like keeps his cool. Dunmire Jr. then walks in with his boys, beats up Montague, and then burns the house to the ground. Great shot of old Robert Patrick watching it burn. He's got this fucking scowl on his face. Really awesome. By the lat of the Montague Mansion. And credits. So final thoughts and recommend the shit out of this show, man. And it's a great season premiere. This, you know, it might seem, actually this is a fairly new show, so you probably guys don't know me that well, but I do have a problem when shows, especially depending on their genre, don't honor the genre. So if it's a superhero show, I want to see some action. If it's a gangster show, I want to see some action. It doesn't have to be as much, obviously, as superhero stuff, but the point is, honor your genre. This episode really danced the line of, like, not a ton of action, but it also kept us going. And some of the episodes of the show, like a lot of Taylor Sheridan jams, I want to say, he's flexible. Like, he doesn't go by 1 hour, 45 minutes, whatever. He has them as long as they want. Mayor of Kingstown plays around with it. I think even Yellowstone. So some of them were like 38 minutes. This was almost a full hour, 57 minutes. And I just thought, to keep me going, I was a little like, oh man, are they going to do too much setup with the length of this episode? Even just looking at running time. I was like, what are they going to do? And for the amount of setup and not action, and man, like, I think the most impressive thing is nailing down the tone of the show. Because, as I said, season 2 started to go places where I'm like, the level of corn is a bit much. Now, people in real life are corny, but it just didn't mix as well as it wasn't working, as like I said before. Whereas I think, man, this is really working. I cannot wait to see fucking Neil McDonough return again. And then whatever they're doing with Sam Jackson, like to see Sam Jackson as a badass older gangster of Oklahoma. Oh man, God, the casting is nuts on these shows. And Stallone, this might sound like an exaggeration if I didn't say it before. What better performance overall? Like, I'm really trying to think. This might be the best acting he's ever done, because of also the role and the choice and probably the time it took to develop the character. I think quality wise, his performance specifically has gotten even better. I mean, it's not perfect, but, and then hearing him in the interview talk about the work that they've done to kind of put it all together, and the fact that he's co-writing episodes. He had again done some writing in last season, but now he's like really writing the show. And man, and it's smart again. I think he's being realistic both about his performance abilities, his capacity, we'll call it, maybe his writing as well. He's like, oh, I want to have a co-writer and keep me grounded, and I'm an older guy, and just fucking well done. Sylvester goddamn Stallone as a gangster. Like, as a gangster fan, I've had obviously my GMTV series here on the YouTube channel. I haven't been posting it in quite a while, but the point is, obsessed with Jersey gangster shit, being from New Jersey. New York, New Jersey gangsters, the whole Italian thing, but then also now living in Florida, you know, I've really embraced cowboy shit along with discovering Yellowstone. So it's just a great time for East meets West now. So giddy up. And as Stallone keeps saying, go fuck yourself. And that is the show. If you haven't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications for future streams of Too Many Shows, subscribe and follow the pod. Again, that's Too Many Shows, a TV podcast. Any kind of super donation here on the stream or on any of our videos is much appreciated. Again, starting today and every Monday, Tulsa King Reviews, 2 p.m. EST, and then our Season 1 finale of Alien Earth is this Wednesday at 3 p.m. EST. And finally, if you want to support us and all the other shows on our network, then head on over to Patreon. That's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. Early access to pods and vids, exclusive pods and vids you can only find there, detailed episode notes for each podcast. And again, that's patreon.com/BatmanBeyondMedia. And of course, the link is posted both in the show notes of the pod and here on YouTube. So this has been Benjamin, reminding you to watch your shows.